Hi, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Dan.
And this is episode 10 of the 1A Auto Talking Tune Show.
Welcome back.
Today we're going to talk about 10 viewer questions and a bunch of stuff you should be watching on YouTube right now. The first question is from a guy named Rolf who has a 2002 Honda Odyssey, and he's had it aligned. He's had the wheels rotated, and the thing still pulls in one direction. And he's wondering what the heck else it can be. So, my instant thought is maybe the brakes are dragging. So, certainly jack up the car, try and spin the wheels manually with it in neutral, and make sure that the wheels are turning freely, because they need to be. If one of them is dragging, it's definitely going to make the car pull in one direction.
Right, yeah, you covered all the other bases already.
Yeah.
The tires have been rotated,
Yep.
The rims have been changed, which means they've probably been weighted and balanced as well too, which usually would cause some of that issue.
Yep.
Aligned, that's usually your biggest thing for pulling.
Yep. So all those are covered. So that pretty much leaves brakes dragging. And the other thing I thought of was, if this only happens on one road, it could just be the road. Because there are certainly instances where you're driving down a road and you let go of the wheel and the car wants to veer off to the right side because the road is actually banked, or it has the ruts in it from the big trucks going down the road. So certainly try it on a bunch of different roads and make sure it's actually pulling on every road.
And not just your normal route to work.
Yeah, not just your route to work. Yeah. So yeah, definitely check those things out, and good luck, and certainly let us know what you find if you do find it, or just give us an update, and we'll go from there. We'll help you diagnose it.
Definitely. Our next question comes from Doug. He's got a 2011 Ford Taurus and asks us, why are there no quick struts available yet? On this one, it's probably very close.
Yep.
The issue being that 2011 was only the second year that these vehicles were out in this body style.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking 5 years. Warranties for newer vehicles tend to be
about 5 years.
3, 5, 7 years.
Yep.
And now it's just kind of getting into the prime where the warranties are wearing out. The suspension's now wearing out.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, up until very recently, all these problems are kind of being taken care of by the dealer.
Yeah, under warranty.
Right. So there really wasn't a demand for the aftermarket to do them quite yet. Mm-hmm. But because that stuff's all kind of coming to an end with this body style, and there's more of them on the road, especially now with them being one of the popular police cars.
Yep.
You should start seeing them in the next few years coming out.
Yeah, most definitely. Most of the 2011s around this time have 50 to 60,000 miles on them, I would guess. And that's right around the time when you want to be replacing your struts.
Right.
Because typically that's about the life of a strut. So yeah, I mean, keep your eye out. I would imagine they'll be out soon.
Definitely.
So, next question is from a guy named Keith. He says, how can I tell if my main seal is leaking? And it's essentially the same process on all cars. Jack up the car, clean the whole area really, really well. Because if you have oil all over the place, you'll never be able to know where it's coming from.
Right. It sprays everywhere and covers everything pretty good.
It does, especially in the main seal, because it gets on either the torque converter or the flywheel, and it just starts spraying from there. It goes everywhere. So clean the whole area really, really well. And then once you do that, make sure you top off your oil, and then take it for a drive around the block, bring it back, jack it up again, and look at it.
Yep. A lot of times there's like an inspection cover between.
Yep.
The seal he's talking about is between the motor and the transmission.
Yes.
So usually there's a little inspection cover underneath that you can open that up and see if there's anything coming and leaking between the two of them.
Yeah, and you'll want to clean that area as well. Take that cover off, clean the flywheel, clean the torque converter, spray it down with whatever your favorite cleaner is.
Yep.
And clean it really well, bring it back after a drive, and watch for the oil to be dripping down the back of the block or the front of the transmission. If it's red, it's transmission fluid.
Yep.
Unless it's a manual, then it could really be any color. If it's not red, it's probably an oil leak from the main seal.
Yep. But also look above it too.
Yes.
Because you could have an intake leak.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah, an intake, or even some oil sending units are on the back of the blocks. Yep. So sometimes those will leak. Spray down the whole back side of the block where it meets the transmission, and just keep an eye out for it. Another actually thing that you could do if you want to get high tech is you can often buy the blacklight system,
those are
which
fun
are
to play
really
with. Yep.
really cool to play with. And you put dye in your oil, and then you get a blacklight, and then you look on the bottom of the car, and you find out where that blacklight neon
Trail
oil
is coming from.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's really cool to see. You feel like you're in the future when you're doing it. Which
Yeah,
is pretty awesome.
they do that for AC systems, cooling
Yep.
systems. It's usually a little pair of glasses to kind of filter out certain colors. And
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel like you're in the future, like in the Matrix or something like that.
Or episode of CSI. Kind
Yeah,
of.
CSI, exactly. So yeah, try those things, and I'm sure you'll find that leak. But again, keep us updated. We'd love to know.
Definitely. Next question is from Lee, 2006 Cadillac DTS. It says his front brakes are pulsing, even after just getting the rotors cut down and turned. Brand new pads, and in less than a month, he's got this pulsation coming back.
Right.
So part of this came to a couple things. You did the right thing by having the rotors turned.
Definitely.
Hopefully, the shop that was turning them made sure they were still in spec.
Mm-hmm.
Most rotors can be cut down once, twice, but there is a amount of meat that they can lose before they're unsafe or just out of specification, which could lead to pulsation.
Yep.
Another thing too is making sure your brake caliper slides are free moving.
Right.
If they're not smooth, if there's any dirt or any grit that got in there, your calipers may not be going in and out like they should be, or not allowing the pad to sit against the rotor like it should be.
It could end up dragging the pad on the rotor.
Yep.
And getting all sorts of pad pieces stuck to the rotor or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing that we came up with too is that not everybody pays attention to it, but when putting on new brake pads, there should be a proper bedding procedure followed. Yep. Most brake pads will have a card in there that'll tell you what to do, but the more common one in this case is the 30-30-30.
Yes.
Which is 30 stops
from 30 miles per hour.
Yep. With 30 seconds in between.
Right.
You want to do it slow. You don't want to do really hard braking, because there's usually a material, a coating on some of the pads that will transfer over to the rotor, and this just allows them to mate up properly, to work together, and stop and hopefully not cause any pulsation issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the last reason why you may have a brake pulsation after doing this kind of work is if your car sits for any period of time, like you park it on grass or gravel or something like that, and it gets moisture built up on the rotors.
Oh yeah, good point.
You may rust your rotor right in the shape of a pad.
Yep.
And now you go to drive it,
and you got to clear off all that rust.
You have to clear off all the rust.
Yep.
So, and that's really common, especially in the climates where it's really wet, or if you park on grass or gravel. I know that has been a constant battle for me through life, because I never really have a nice driveway. So yeah, that would certainly cause it, and it doesn't take long either. A matter of a few days of your car sitting in one place, and you might have a rusty spot on your rotor.
Definitely.
So driving your car every day is always nice to do, and then of course bedding your brakes like we previously talked about. Next one is a 2002 Volkswagen Jetta from a man named Ken, and he loves his Volkswagen Jetta. It's a 2002 TDI, and a lot of people love those, so I can totally understand. And his problem is that it has an aluminum oil pan, and it is way too low. And it has factory suspension, but he bounces this thing off of every high spot on the road.
Yep.
And it's kind of a nuisance. So he loves the car, hates how low it is. So he mentioned that the front struts appear to be too high under the hood.
Yeah, there was a gap between the top of the strut and the strut tower.
Yeah, exactly. So we did a little research into this, and it turns out that the strut mounts can actually compress over time when they get old, and it'll essentially cause this problem.
Right. Yeah. These aren't your typical bolt-in strut mounts. These are called pillow ball mounts, and it really just kind of rests in place there, other than the top mount. And it's a big pillow of rubber. The problem is, as they get older, they start to compress more, and there's a bigger gap between that top the strut and the actual strut tower,
Right.
which in turn is causing the car to fall just a little bit more. Yep.
Right. Plus, it's 2002, so it's now 13 years old.
It's probably got some miles on it.
It's got some miles. The springs could be worn out a little bit.
Struts
could be worn out a little bit.
So all of it kind of working together
Yep.
is going to cause much more play in that suspension to bounce up and down. So when you hit that
Right.
pothole, when you hit that bump in the road,
Yeah.
it's going to bring that car down even further
Right.
and bounce it back up even higher.
Yeah. So if your car does have 50,000 or more miles on the struts, certainly look into replacing the struts. Maybe replacing the springs. Maybe you can get a loaded.
This is a perfect situation where a quick strut comes in handy.
A quick strut would be perfect for this.
All those problems at once. The mount, the spring, the strut, everything's brand new.
Right. And then you're starting from square one. You know your suspension is top notch.
Hopefully we can save a pan or two.
Hopefully you can save your oil pan because you don't want to break those.
Right.
Next question is from Robert with a 97 Toyota Corolla. He has a vibration at over 60 miles per hour and at below 5 miles per hour. And this is a little bit strange. It almost makes me feel like it might be two different problems.
Yeah, and just paying attention a little bit more now that you found the first one.
Yeah, so typically, like below 5 miles per hour, if you feel a vibration, I mean, it's probably going to be a broken belt in your tire, a bubble in your tire, something making your tire not round. If you're feeling a consistent, oblong tire, something's wrong with your tire.
Yep.
You can easily rotate your tires and see if this bump thing moves from the front, like steering wheel position, to the rear in your seat, and kind of take it from there. If it's over 60 miles per hour only, and you're having a vibration, if it's in the front wheels, it's a steering wheel. If it's in the back wheels, you usually feel it in the seat. You can certainly rotate your tires. Make sure that your tires have been balanced at some point, because throwing wheel weights off of a wheel is super common.
Yep, especially if you have like the stick-on ones.
Yeah, stick-on ones almost never stay on the full life of the wheel. So yeah, certainly balance all four wheels. When they're put on the balancer, it's really easy to see if it has a bubble or the wheel's bent or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, essentially, you got to figure out if your wheels are balanced or if your tires are damaged.
Yep.
That's almost always where the vibrations come from at those speeds. So check that out. Balance those wheels. Check your tires. Take it from there.
Yeah. So our next one is a 2004 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD.
Mm-hmm.
Our viewer asked, "My radiator is leaking from coolant from the fitting where the transmission line goes into the radiator. How can I fix this problem?" First off, let's make sure that it's actually coolant and not transmission fluid.
Right.
In those vehicles, GM used their orangish reddish Dex Cool, which is also pretty close in color to your red transmission fluid.
Right.
If it's just transmission fluid, nice thing is just take out the
fitting.
Yep. Put some Teflon tape on it. Put it back in. Refill your transmission fluid up to the proper levels, and just check from there.
Right.
If it is in fact coolant, you've got a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Those two should not be mixing anywhere in that radiator. Yes, there is a cooler for the transmission in there, and yes, there's coolant in there for the cooling system. But they are two separate systems within that one giant case. If you've got that, I would recommend changing the transmission, and not the transmission
fluid.
Yeah, transmission fluid, but change the radiator.
Yes.
You don't want transmission fluid and coolant mixing. And if they did, check the transmission fluid for any kind of mixture in there. Do a new filter, new fluid.
Yeah, and you're going to probably want to flush out your coolant system as well,
because you probably got some mix in there too.
Fluid in your coolant.
No.
It's not going to cool your engine very well, and it gums up everything inside your engine. So yeah, make sure it really is coolant leaking from the transmission fitting. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's just the red transmission fluid.
Yep.
Because that is a way easier fix than replacing radiators, flushing systems out, filters, all this stuff. So, next one is a 2005 Chevy Classic. I'm trying to remove the rear speaker cover behind the back seats, but not finding a video or any kind of how-to information on this. So,
first off, the Chevy Classic is just the old body style Malibu being reused. So anything that applies to like an 03 and 02 Malibu applies to the 04 and 05 Classic. So that might make it easier when you're doing searches for other installs in your vehicle. Yeah.
Skip the word Classic, go for Chevy Malibu, because you'll have much better luck. There's way more Malibus than there are Chevy Classics.
Yes.
But as far as this problem goes, you have to remove the rear seat
Yep.
to get to the speaker access panel. Once you remove the rear seat, there's probably some bolts or some clips that you remove, and then you can lift the whole rear speaker cover up. It's one big unit.
Yeah, they make it look like you could take off the covers
Yeah.
by themselves.
But you can't.
That's not the case. They're usually plastic welded in place, so
Yeah.
if you do take them off and are successful, they're not going to go back on.
Exactly, yes.
So now you got another problem.
Right. So, yeah, try that out, and it should be pretty easy. If you can figure out how to remove that back seat, you've done 90% of the work, I'm
Yep.
sure. The back seat is usually the tricky part.
Right. Our next question, it's a 2010 Ford F-150. Viewer says, when I pull up to a light and stop, when light turns green and I go, there's a thump sound in the rear of the vehicle.
Yep.
This really could be many different things depending on what your definition of rear is.
Yes.
Starting from the front back, it could be the transmission mount is worn out, and what you're hearing is the transmission actually tap the transmission tunnel.
Mhm.
I've had that happen on one of my vehicles before.
Yes, Camaros are well known for that.
Yes. Another thing too is check your leaf spring shackle brackets. Mounts, make sure there's no play or any movement. All your bushings in the back, any like the mounts for the shocks.
Yep. Possibly a spare tire. If the spare tire is loose back there,
Yep.
it could be, swinging back and hitting like
Right,
the rear
yeah.
frame or something
Yeah,
like that.
on these trucks, they're usually like a crank cable operated
Right.
one. So what you're having is this thing just like
Yes,
pendulum swinging back and forth.
Right. So yeah, that could certainly thump. There's like a whole plethora of things that could be back there. But
Right.
yeah, certainly suspension bushings, rear tire, transmission mounts. Those are probably
That's a good start for a weekend.
Yeah, 3 great places to start. And the last question is 2009 Pontiac G6. They have a fault code of P0010, which is the camshaft position sensor. And he wants to know if he can replace it himself, or does he have to take it to the dealership to replace it?
Right. On these vehicles, the 2.4 Ecotechs, it's actually becoming more and more common with this issue. And luckily, it's a pretty easy fix. Typically, what it comes down to is you'll have a P10, a P11, P13, and P14 codes. Any mix of those, and usually refers to the camshaft actuators. And the problem with these things is they get gunked up with oil, and they don't move back and forth. These have to do with the cam timing and the adjustable valve timing and everything like that. But luckily, it's a pretty easy fix, and you could actually save a lot of money and not have to replace it. First thing I would recommend doing is taking them out. It's usually just held on with one bolt on the front of the valve cover.
Yep.
And just check to make sure the screens are free of any debris or gunk.
Yes.
Just wipe them down, see if they put them back in, clear your codes, and see if they come back.
Yeah.
If not, it's just as easy to replace them. Pop them out with that one bolt, undo the electrical connection, pop the new one in,
Right.
and give it a run.
Yeah, and just make sure you're always changing your oil regularly to keep these things clean, because if you go for long periods of time with old oil, you're going to create this gunk buildup inside your
Right.
engine
Yeah.
and sludge, and it's going to plug the filters again, and then you're going to go through the same process.
Right, yeah.
So-
With these modern engines, the oil passages are getting tinier and tinier,
Yes.
and becoming more and more important for the timing of the engine. And if you're clogging them up because you went a little too long with that oil change, you're going to have more problems down the road.
Right. Yeah. So that wraps up our viewer questions for today. The topic at hand for today that we're excited about is talking about all of the great channels on YouTube that are coming out.
Yeah, definitely. There are a ton of car-related channels on YouTube right now.
Yeah, and Jalopnik, who's a major car blog out there.
Yep, I know. I read it every day.
Yeah, they just came out with their own YouTube channel that they're starting to promote big time. So that should be the next probably big YouTube channel for car guys.
Yep.
So I made a list of my favorite ones. There was a lot, but
yeah,
but-
we did have some overlap there too.
yeah, we had quite a bit of overlap.
Yeah.
My top ones, of course, the One Auto channel. You're going to want to watch that, right?
Oh, of course, definitely.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the best one of them all.
Right. But besides One Auto's YouTube channel, you're definitely going to want to watch the Motor Trend channel, because that has obviously Motor Trend magazine videos.
Yep.
It also has all of the Hot Rod magazine videos, the Dirt Everyday videos. There's just so much fantastic video content on there. It has Roadkill. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's a fantastic show with David Freiberger and Mike Finnegan, who are editors of Hot Rod Magazine, and they basically go on road trips and take beat-up cars, fix them up, and then drive them across the country and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So it is fantastic. I could watch that all day, every day.
My big one has been Drive.
Yes.
And specifically them following Koenigsegg through designing and building of their cars.
Yes.
The insane attention to detail, the materials, the build. It's, if you're into cars going fast, and also like what makes them tick and how they work, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. It doesn't get better.
No.
It's incredible. Another fantastic one is Mighty Car Mods. It's a couple of guys in, I believe it's Australia or New Zealand. I should probably know this.
Yeah.
But either way, they're basically just two car guys, and they do some fantastic builds on regular, average, everyday cars. They'll throw turbo upgrades on Subarus. They'll show you how to make spray paint on your fenders come out nice instead of terrible. It is a fantastic show, and they have great personalities. It's probably the best personalities on YouTube, besides us, of course.
Yes.
Right.
My other go-to has been Motor Week, and more so for the classic car reviews. Seeing what was really great back in 1981, or what made a Toyota Supra in 85, that kind of thing. Like,
yes.
Seeing the difference between then and now of what you could expect out of your basic car, your sports cars, or the features you could get, what people were going gaga over.
Yes. Yeah. Another favorite of mine is Bad Obsession Motorsport. It's basically this couple of guys, and they're in Europe. I can't tell you exactly where. Again, I'm not great with locations apparently, but it's these two guys in a shop, and they are taking a Toyota Celica all-wheel drive turbo and a Mini, and they're merging them together. So now they're building an all-wheel drive turbo Mini, and it is incredible. The workmanship of these guys do is insane. I can't believe.
I'm kind of intrigued on this one too. I gotta find this one.
and the episodes are hysterical. They are like some of the funniest stuff ever. I can't get enough of it.
For me, I do kind of venture away from car stuff every once in a while, and if you do, EpicMealTime is a nice change of pace.
Very true. Yeah, EpicMealTime is great. Also, Mental Floss is a fantastic one.
Yep.
I love that. Some other car ones are Petrolicious. It's really like artsy, great automotive content. They'll like review some guy's motorcycle or just a fantastic car of some person that they built themselves typically, and their videos really show the passion that these people have for their cars. And it's really high quality video. It blows the other ones out of the water as far as like actual video quality. And man, that's another one I could watch every day.
Yeah. The other blog that I follow other than Jalopnik would be Autoblog, and they've got a really good channel as well too, with their reviews, their bucket list, and just any car shows that are out at the time too. Those are always fun to drool over.
Yes. The other one in my top 5 list is Tom's Turbo Garage. A guy named Tom Tharp, who's a really nice guy. He is building a Mazda Miata, and he's putting a...
The answer is always Miata.
LS engine swap, 6-speed, and it's all brand new. Like, everything is immaculately clean, and he's taking his time, and he's doing everything like so unreal I can't even believe it.
That is one of the best combos that you can put together.
Is. Yeah.
Miatas, it might be a little hard to see yourself driving one, but they're supposed to be one of the best driving cars there is. And then to put in that really nice Chevy V8.
I know. Yeah. It's everything you want. And again, the workmanship that this guy does is crazy. And his garage is so clean that I can't even believe that like he does work in it, because you could eat off the floor, and
it's not just for show.
Yeah, it's not just for show. I don't know how he does it. It's fantastic. And I have a bunch of other favorites. I won't go over them in this video, but I'll certainly mention them in the comments area.
Yep.
And I think that wraps up episode 10.
Yeah. Let us know what you watch too.
Yeah, what are you guys watching on YouTube besides us, of course?
Right.
And give us some more questions. Follow us on Facebook or like us on Facebook. Shoot us some tweets, and I guess we'll see you next time.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks. You don't want to advertise your cat.
My nerd watch.
Yeah. No Fitbit anymore?
Look, he's flying. Why would I want to do that when I have a flying cat on my wrist?
That's true.